Hi, y'all. My name is Brie Rhiannon, and this is going to be my limited podcast series on the 12 signs of the Zodiac. I have a background in, it's called test and measurement in engineering, and that is where I helped engineers do their jobs, and I had a lot of background in things like electrical engineering, battery testing, as well as aerospace, renewable energy, and things like that. And over time, I started to apply the laws of physics, quantum physics theories, quantum mechanics, fluid dynamics, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, principles and theories to astrology, because I also happen to be a second generation astrologer. So my mom is an astrologer as well. She's also a sound healer. So those things are based in quantum physics and the fact that we are mostly made out of water when it comes to the sound healing thing. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree when it comes to me. And really, I'm kind of following in my mom's footsteps. And my dad also taught me everything I know about frequency. So I started to apply all of these things and looking at astrology itself through the lens of frequency. So this podcast series is going to be a little bit different from what you may have come across when you learn astrology. Whether you're a beginner or you're advanced, I'm hoping that you can learn some new things just from the things that have gone on in my brain and what I plan on doing. So today we will be talking about Aries, but I will also be talking about each sign of the zodiac through the axis and teaching you astrology and really building the traditional zodiac wheel, all 12 signs of the zodiac through their axis, because you can see that these axes are based in polarity. So it's kind of like a plus and a minus on a battery every time that you look at the axis. So we're really going to just be starting with the first house and the seventh house, but the focus is going to be on Aries. There will be a separate episode focused on Libra, but I will be discussing the axis as a whole so that you can see how these energies are really rooted within each other as a full spectrum of frequency, and that it makes the energy work in a mechanical way. So we are taking this intangible energy that we really can't see, similar to your Wi-Fi, your GPS signal, and things like that, and making it a little bit more physical so that we can understand how the energy operates and functions, and then also learn how we can function within this energy from an optimal and efficient sense. I will also be going over all of the rulerships between house, planet, element, mode, symbol, archetypes, and really just going over the energy as a full spectrum of frequency for the full understanding when it comes to Aries in general. So whether you have personal Aries placements or not, we all function within the 12 signs of the zodiac, and really it's just a system of knowledge for the energy that we operate within. So I always like to say that we're all simply reacting to cosmic energy at all times, and we experience Aries season, we experience Aries transits. We also all contain Aries energy within us. So that is what I'm going to be going over today. And then the last thing I'll say in my little introduction, I have outfits on for each sign of the zodiac that are in theme. So we can't I need to stand up a little bit so you could see my t-shirt is this Tweety bird that says, "I make the rules." And that is a very Aries thing. Aries tend to be very, very independent people that are very, very headstrong. The symbol is the ram, and Aries is stereotypically also known to have a little bit of a temper and maybe a little bit of anger problems, and Tweety Bird looks a little angry. So that is my outfit for today as well. So diving into Aries, okay, right? So we have is the first sign of the zodiac. It is ruled by the first house, okay? It is also on a birth chart how we define the ascendant. So whenever an astrologer asks for your birth time and location, those are the pieces of information that they're looking for so that they can grasp whatever your ascendant is. Now, not everybody has an Aries ascendant, but when you're learning the traditional zodiac wheel, Aries is always the ruler of the ascendant in the first house. So Aries energy is the encapsulation of that moment that we are born and our soul enters into this world to become encapsulated into our physical vessel. So those rulerships is contained within the definition of Aries. So Aries, the first house, is the ruler of our identity. So that means the energy that you project out, that people first get from you, that is also found in your ascendant. So remember, that's personal to you. For me personally, I have a Capricorn ascendant, but when we're learning the zodiac wheel, we just remember that the first house is always the ascendant on your birth chart. So the first house being the ruler of the identity, it's also the ruler of your physical body. So this is your physical appearance is encapsulated in this energy as well. How people perceive you, when they first meet you, before you even say anything at all, before they even get to know you, they see you first. So that's also contained in the first house energy when it comes to Aries. So this is a full spectrum of frequency that encapsulates your entire identity and what people get from you before they're able to get to know you. So this is, I don't say surface level in the meaning of like shallow, but it's just the very, very first energetic perception that somebody gets from you before they dive down deep into the layers of exactly what encapsulates who and what you are. That is found through all of the other 12 signs of the zodiac. As we move through those things, that is a further journey, but Aries is the spark of life. It's also the beginning of spring. When we start Aries season, it takes place on the spring equinox. So when you're learning tropical astrology in particular, tropical astrology is quite literally based upon the seasons. So when people go viral online and TikTok, and it's like they get the Stargazer app out, and it's like, oh my gosh, look, it says that it's Aries season right now, but the sun is still in Pisces in the constellations. There's just a difference between different types of astrology. Tropical astrology is based on the seasons and the ecliptic and where the location in which that you were born. There's angles involved. It was created by Ptolemy. He was a mathematician in ancient Egypt during the Roman Empire and all that jazz. So sidereal astrology and also Vedic astrology is based off of exactly where things are physically in the sky when it comes to these constellations. So the constellations are the same when it comes to the 12 signs of the zodiac. The Aries constellation is there, but there's a difference between tropical astrology and sidereal astrology. So I do want to make that clear that I am considered a tropical astrologer, which I find to be best for introspection. So when we are learning about these frequency spectrums of the 12 signs of the zodiac, and today in Aries in particular, it's for introspective purposes when you are analyzing the definition of the spectrum of frequency of all of these rulerships of what you are looking at. So going back to the first house, identity, personality, physical body, all of those things, that is the containment of the moment in which your soul enters your body and you are born. So really, this is also the energy of rooted truth, right? So your soul and your human identity may not necessarily line up at all times. And that's really what the human experience is even about, is that journey of self-discovery, which is contained in the energy of Aries and the first house. So with that journey of self-discovery and your identity, what we really sign up for is human amnesia. And Aries is the moment in which we encapsulate that human amnesia, that moment that we're born and we have no memory of our soul, any of our past lives that we have lived or anything like that. And also that moment that we are born, we're really born whole. It's that moment before we enter into the trauma of the human experience, right? And that we end up going through all of these things. Aries is the energy that you can tap into of wholeness and that beginning, the rooted truth of your spiritual identity matching and containing with your human identity is found within Aries and the first house. So this is roots, foundational energy. The building blocks come from here. We move from here, starting with Aries in the first house, okay? So then you're also going to learn polarity through the axis as well. It's the easiest to start learning polarity throughout the entire zodiac wheel through the Aries and Libra axis, and you can get it solely from the planetary rulership of Aries. The planetary rulership of Aries is Mars. And then on the other end of the axis, moving from the first house to the seventh house, is Libra. The planetary rulership of Libra is Venus. Women are from Mars, men are from Venus. Whoops, I messed that up. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. So do you see, even just in that phrase that we have, that common stereotypical phrase, we actually can notice polarity in that phrase. So what I mean by polarity is the direction of the energy and what direction that energy is moving. It's the easiest to understand that on the Aries Libra axis through the planetary rulerships and knowing what we know about Mars versus Venus as energies. Mars is a projective energy versus Venus, it is a receptive energy. Traditional astrology tends to teach through a gendered lens. And you get that through that phrase that I just said of men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I'm going to challenge thinking a little bit and remove these gendered stereotypes and traditional knowledge out of astrology, because obviously that comes with a lot of unintended and unconscious bias. And that can lead to blockages and misunderstandings when it comes to truly understanding the way the energy of the zodiac can work from a mechanical sense. So learning the energy of the zodiac through astrology, and especially this first axis of Libra and Aries, instead of through the gender of masculine versus feminine, that Mars is masculine, Venus is feminine, let's change it to the direction of the energy, and it's projective versus receptive. And you will find this contained throughout the entire zodiac wheel, and it is how you build the zodiac wheel. One side of the axis, no matter what sign it is projective. The other sign is receptive. So this is the direction of energy, whether it is flowing out and away from you or towards you. And then when you contain this within your physical system, when it comes to the physical body and the human body, which is related to Aries. Remember, Aries, first house, the moment we're born, soul goes into the body, physical vessel. This is the house, this is the sign that rules your physical body, your physical appearance, and all your physical aspects of how people perceive you and everything like that, right? So in life, your brain is an electrical system and your heart is an electrical system. These are constantly projecting out frequency away from you. We have means of reading these frequencies. If you go to a doctor, you can get what's called an EEG on your brain, in which they will be reading your brain waves, or you can get an EKG on your heart, and they're going to be reading the frequency waves that are coming from your heart. Now, we also have neuroscience, and it's called neurocardiology, that has discovered that the heart and the brain are actually extremely different, independent, separate systems. And a lot of our emotional makeup is actually coming from the electrical signals from the heart, and the heart has over 90,000 of its own neurons. So your heart is like a little brain that lives in your chest, and it's separate from your brain. It is not the brain that is controlling the heart, and this is very, very recent scientific discoveries that even took place over the course of 2025. So these frequencies are always existing in our system. We have our own frequency, and the laws of physics are applied to our personal frequency, the frequency of the world that surrounds us, which is why learning astrology through the lens of frequency can not only help you understand yourself better, but it can help you understand reality generation better, which is a form of manifestation from a scientific perspective. So the frequency that we contain within ourselves, our thoughts, our emotions, our intentions, our actions, all of these things, they have their own frequency and they project out and away from us. And then the laws of physics enact. There's a law of physics that you all know. We all learned it a long time ago. I think back in high school, but maybe even earlier. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So this is applying the laws of physics to the intangible energy of frequency, which is just like your Wi-Fi and your GPS signal, X-rays, microwaves, all kinds of things. We are governed by frequency that we absolutely cannot see with our eyes. And also, 97% or so of the entire universe is made up of something called dark matter. We can't see it, but we also know that it's there, and because it makes up the vast majority of this entire universe, this physical realm, we cannot see it. Only 3% is tangible. You combine all these things and it becomes a lot easier to understand that we are living in and navigating within an intangible world, a lot more than a tangible world. So then when we become more conscious of this intangible energy, we can then work within it, navigate within it, and then manipulate it and even harness it and control it. And we're really all operating at, manifesting at 100%. Because we are generating our own reality. We are manifesting our own reality. We are creating it. We're creating it through our consciousness. We're creating it through our soul. We're creating it through our own energy. And you start to learn this the most when you really learn Aries energy and the physical embodiment of this system and this frequency that we are generating from our physical vessel that projects out and away from us. And by design, the equal and opposite reaction is that that physical energy, that frequency, comes right back towards us. So you find all of that within the first house and within Aries. Understanding that and knowing that your own energy, whatever it is that projects out and away from you, is sent right back to you, helps you become a lot more self-aware. Aries is a very, very important sign and energy to live in self-awareness. Otherwise, the energy goes into detriment. So all of these signs, they have strengths and weaknesses, and regular, degular astrology or mainstream astrology, whatever you want to call it, like in the magazines or whatever you learn, it tends to be very, very stereotypical. Meaning, oh, Aries has a temper. Aries has anger issues. Okay, well, that may be true. And you may be viewing that as a weakness, right? But when we understand these through the lens of frequency, we also have to understand duality. So understanding duality is very, very important. That duality means that nothing is really good or bad. Nothing is really positive or negative. Everything just is. So whatever we view as a strength can also be seen as a weakness, and whatever we view as a weakness can also be viewed as strength, because really it's just a spectrum of frequency, and we are simply honing in at any point on any specific part of that spectrum of frequency, right? So going back to the frequency that projects out and away from you, and how Aries is really the definition of this frequency in a very, very physical way, you can recognize that when you feel bad about yourself, right? Because Aries is our identity. How do we feel about our identity? Do we accept ourselves? Do we love ourselves? Do we have compassion for ourselves? Those hold a very, very specific frequency. Do we not love ourselves? Do we feel very unconfident, or does our identity make us feel like we have a problem with parts and pieces of our identity? Well, when that frequency projects out and away from us, then that gets sent back to us. And then more and more things may arrive into our reality that make us question ourselves and question our identity. And I may not know who I am. I may not like who I am. But all of these things we can feel, we can experience, but also we can harness and control, because perspective is a choice. Perspective is a choice based on given and perceived information. So Aries really arrives as the lesson of not just knowing who we are, but loving and being confident in who we are. So Aries may be hot-headed and have a temper, but that may be happening when their energy is ungrounded. And within their polarity, things are a little bit backwards and things are not going very well within. And there's a lot of dissonance. And then that can result in the temper and the anger and things like that, because really there's just this feeling from within that is a lack of self-love and a lack of self-acceptance and a lack of self-compassion. And then that manifests as a projection, because also, remember, Aries is ruled by Mars, and Mars is inherently, by factory default settings, a projective energy. And also anger, Psychology 101, says that anger is a projected emotion. See how all of this is lining up? All of this is the same spectrum of frequency. It's all contained within Aries. So you can learn Aries in that way. You can remember Aries in that way. And astrology becomes no longer hard, because it's all connected and it's all related. So also, by learning through the axis, you can also learn what is called the mode of the zodiac sign. So what are the modes? The modes are cardinal, fixed, and mutable. When we're learning astrology, and there's 12 different zodiac signs, but there's 3 different modes, well, you do the math. That means that there are 4 zodiac signs that are all the same mode. And then that automatically goes into your brain and you're like, oh no, how am I going to remember that? Well, if you learn the zodiac wheel by the axis, you can automatically remember. So Aries, as the first sign of the zodiac, is a cardinal mode. Cardinal modes are always the beginning of a season. Cardinal modes are starter energy. So remember back in the beginning when I said Aries is the spark of life in the beginning of spring, and it takes place on the spring equinox? Bam, there you go. Aries is a cardinal sign. That's how you define it. But then all the way on the other end of the axis, moving from Aries to Libra, Libra is also automatically a cardinal mode. When we talk about Libra, we will talk about how Libra starts on the fall equinox. So when you learn by axis, it's easier to remember what the modes are. You do not have to learn them separately. You do not have to memorize them separately. Learning the zodiac wheel by axis is not just helpful for learning the polarity of the plus and the minus on the battery, which signs are projective, which signs are automatically receptive, but also which signs are cardinal, fixed, or mutable signs. So then you also want to see what the ruling element is. So see how we're stacking. These are building blocks of the way that the energy works and operates. So we went from starting with the sign, Aries, where it is on the entire zodiac wheel as a circle of the 12 houses. It's the first house. What is ruled in that first house? Identity, physical body, how people see you, the first energy that they get from you, their perception of you, the projected energy that you have out away from yourself that people first feel and get from you when they first meet you before you even talk. And then on top of that, we put the planetary rulership of Mars. Mars is automatically a projective energy because Mars rules our actions and what we do. So therefore, Aries also rules our actions and what we do, what we've come here to do in this physical realm after we're born, right? Then the next layer that we stacked on it was the mode. It's a cardinal sign. It's the spark of life, inner flame, the beginning of spring, the beginning of everything, because it's the beginning of your story. Remember, it's the ascendant on your birth chart, which is the beginning of your story. It's the rooted foundational energy of your entire identity, including your spiritual truth of your soul, marrying your human identity when you first enter into this world. So now, what we are going to stack on top of the mode is the elemental rulership. What is the elemental rulership of Aries? Fire. Remember, spark of life, inner flame, beginning of spring. Of course it's fire. This just makes sense. It wouldn't be earth, it wouldn't be water, it wouldn't be air, right? It's the spark of life. It has to be fire. So now you're also, as you go through the zodiac wheel and you see how there's different elements that are also receptive versus projective once we get to them. for example, Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a receptive fire sign. What you're really looking at are the mechanical differences of the functionality of this energy, the way that it operates, the way that it moves, even from the element. So what is the element of fire? The element of fire always has to do with actions, doing. But it's not always projective. We're going to start with it being projective, but sometimes it will become receptive. So with the energy moving out and away from us, Aries comes along, and it is the energy of purpose. What have we come to do in this physical realm? And when our energy moves out and away from us, what does that energy contain? What does it mean? Where are we going with it? Where is that energy going? And then the laws of physics will automatically enact, and things will come back towards us, okay? We are working with building blocks here, and we are stacking all of those building blocks one by one to understand what this energy is, but also the way that it moves, the way that it operates, the way that it functions. So going back to the beginning, because we're going to go back to our last building block that we are going to stack on the very, very top on how you can use the symbol. And you memorize all the symbols of the signs of the zodiac. And if you ever can't remember anything at all about the signs of the zodiac while you're trying to learn all this, you can look just at the symbol and it will take you to all of the other building blocks that I also already talked about, right? So, zodiac wheel, starting with Aries. Starting with the sign is the first you do. We are at Aries. Then the next building block is that it's the first house. For Aries in particular, that also defines the ascendant. So we will mention that again. And then after that, we put the planet on top of that, which is Mars. And also looking at the planet helped us define the polarity, and it helped us understand the entire axis together between Aries and Libra, because Mars was on one side of the axis at Aries, and then Libra is on the other side of the axis at Venus. That helps you understand the polarity of the plus and the minus on the battery for the entire axis, which we will see happening the entire way through as we learn about all of these 12 signs of the zodiac. So Mars, the projective polarity, Aries is projective polarity, the first house is projective polarity, and then on the other side of the axis with Libra and with Venus, it's receptive polarity. And remember, we are removing the gendered stereotypes from what we are learning. Projective is energy moving out and away from you, receptive is energy moving towards you, right? So then, what did we stack on top of that? We stacked the mode, the cardinal mode, and that Aries and Libra as an axis as a whole are both cardinal signs, and that all cardinal signs are the start of every single season. So that's also how you understand what cardinal energy is as starter energy. But then that takes you back to Aries being the spark of life, the start of spring, new beginnings, your rooted energy, the beginning of your story, all of these things. See how all of these things are connected. So then we stacked the element on top of that, and we saw that fire, projective fire with Aries. Fire rules our actions, Mars rules our actions, therefore Aries rules our actions. So we are stacking these building blocks, and we are seeing how everything lines up and everything makes sense. But let's say that you forgot all of those building blocks because you slept a little bit, and it's sometimes hard to remember what you're learning. What you do know is that Aries, the symbol is the ram, and you can even help yourself learn these symbols from the emojis on your keyboard. So the Aries symbol is like that little V, and but it's curved, right? So therefore your eyes are looking at this symbol. What does this symbol mean? What does it mean to you? What does the imagery evoke? There's little horns, right? Aries is the ram. So the symbol of the ram, you can just go straight even to the scientific way that we look at the ram and what does the ram do? So the ram is an animal. Oh, well, they butt heads, right? They fight, they're aggressive. Okay, well, there you get your Aries stereotype of being stubborn, hot-headed, having a temper. But that's stereotypical mainstream astrology that is also looking at traits as just bona fide weaknesses and strengths. So then when we really understand astrology and all these other building blocks, we also can see that the symbol of the ram is unique, especially mountain rams. Rams are able to scale and jump up a mountain, and it's like literally vertical terrain. If you look at videos, or if you've ever gotten to see mountain rams, I live in Colorado, so I've gone to Rocky Mountain National Park, and I've gotten to literally see mountain rams just hop around on a side of a mountain that is basically vertical, and they are not falling off. It's a very unique skill. So then we look at the fact that Aries rules our identity, which is what makes us unique. Our identity is, it's just you, it's just me. There is no other me, and there is no other you. We are all individual people, and our identity and our definition of our identity is what makes us unique. And when you look at the skills that the ram has, is there any other animal in the animal kingdom that can live in these extremely harsh environments when it comes to mountain rams? It's, you're up in high elevation. There's a lack of oxygen when it comes to that. There's a lack of vegetation depending on how high they go. And they can just scale these mountains and hop around like they're just doing parkour everywhere. And it's like, wow, look at that. Like, what other animal in the animal kingdom is even able to do that? How unique are they? How unique is the ram? So you can look at the symbol alone. We looked at, okay, horns, butting heads, aggressive, things like that got Aries, right? And then we really dig into what makes them special. And then we arrived right at what Aries rules in general, what the first house rules in general. So astrology is not as complicated or hard as people think it is. It is all just a labeling system. It's a system of knowledge that is a labeling system. And when you look at it through the lens of frequency is a labeling system of definition. And you can get it from all of the rulerships, and then ending at the symbol, you still get what the sign of that zodiac represents. Even just through the symbol on the emoji keyboard can help you remember what these things are. Okay? So now what I want to dive into are the Aries traits and how it's so important after you understand the way that the energy operates through these mechanical definitions of polarity, how these traits then manifest within people as personality traits. So we're going back a lot to Aries being stubborn, hot-headed, having a temper, my shirt that says, I like to make the rules, and that Tweety Bird looks kind of mad, and all of these things. Well, Aries is a really strong personality trait and energy of leadership. Why? Because go back to our building blocks. It's the spring equinox. It's a cardinal sign. It's the start of spring. All cardinal signs are going to be very, very good at starting things. So Aries is also a very creative energy. Aries is really good at starting new projects, whether they're creative or not, but specifically creative projects, because when we look at what the spark of life, the inner flame, the start of spring, new beginnings, that is the start of spring is, you got a lot of babies being born, it's when rabbits and birds and cats and dogs and chickens and all kinds of geese, and they're laying their eggs and they're hatching, and it's just there's a lot of newness, there's a lot of new life, but it's also new birth, and birth is a creative process which is found within Aries. So people with Aries energy tend to be not just incredibly unique, individual, independent people, but they tend to be incredibly, this is my Aries cat. Don't put your body on the mic. This is Noodle. She has come along to say, oh, are we talking about me? Yes, we are. We are talking about you, my love. So in particular, not only is Noodle very creative, but she has a lot of very high energy. Aries people tend to be very, very passionate. They tend to have a lot of energy. They need to let that energy out. The reason that they need to let that energy out, let's go back to our building blocks in the polarity. Projective energy automatically needs to do. It needs to take action. It needs to move. It needs to do things. So then you also get that purpose energy in it. So Aries energy is not going to feel fulfilled. It's not going to feel happy. It is not going to feel good or okay or nice in life if they are not doing what fills their passion and also their inner flame and their spark of life. They need to be letting that out and projecting it out into the world. And then if they're not, if they feel held back, that is when Aries can really go into detriment and really experience dissonance. And Aries is very, very ungrounded. And that's when those stereotypes of having a temper, being stubborn, being angry with people, possibly, being impulsive, because Aries as a cardinal sign, they're so good at starting new things that then sometimes when their energy goes into detriment and it becomes ungrounded because they are not fulfilling the energy that Aries has come to fulfill within them, well, then they need to do things and then they don't think about it and they don't think about the consequences that come with doing something. And it just becomes, I just need to do something. And then we can take an impulsive action that ends up resulting in certain consequences that were not thought about. And maybe they were not so great. And then everybody looks at the Aries person and they're like, why the heck are you being like, why would you do that? Why would you do these things? So it's also important for us to recognize whether we have Aries placements or not. Because we all have all 12 signs of the zodiac on our birth chart. We all have, whether we have Aries placements or not, and empty houses are still important because it's more like direct access to that energy without anything impeding it. So whether we have Aries placements or not, we all have Aries energy within us. We have our inner flame. We have what is my purpose? What is my identity? Who am I? What am I? And what am I going to do with that? How do people perceive me? Like what energy do they get from me? So we have all of this Aries energy. So when it goes into detriment, when it's ungrounded, when it goes into dissonance, what does that look like? People with Aries placements really need to move their physical body more than people who don't have Aries placements. But this is when physical movement and physical exercise becomes really, really important, especially for people that have what we call, people might hear the term heavy placements. What are heavy placements? To me, heavy placements are inner planetary placements. So that is your closest to you energy. That's your most personal energy. So this is your sun, your Mercury, your Venus, or your Mars placements, okay? Or your ascendant as well. Aries, whatever the ascendant is also very, very important because that's also going to define your first house. So your first house is your house of identity. So like I said, whether you have Aries placements or not, but people who have Aries placements, if they are not engaging in physical movement, whatever that looks like, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be going crazy. You don't have to be like a total gym nut. You don't need to be going on runs and running marathons. Some people do. Some people with Aries placements, you absolutely see that. They need to exercise all the time. Maybe they're into doing marathons. Maybe they're into lifting weights. But it can also be more creative. It could be taking dance classes, taking yoga classes. You could just go on walks. It doesn't matter. But basically finding a way to move the body is going to be a way for people with heavy Aries energy when they feel ungrounded, when it is expressing itself through impulsivity, anger, stubbornness, or maybe they want to do things, but they're not able to do those things for whatever reason. So then they feel held back. And so then that makes them feel a certain type of way. But also, if people are not secure in their identities, when we go into therapy, how do we feel about our body? Our body is a type of our identity, and so many of us don't feel at home. We don't feel good. We don't like ourselves. We don't love ourselves. We look in the mirror and we don't like what we see. That is Aries energy becoming in detriment, becoming ungrounded, becoming dissonant. It is not operating optimally or functionally when we are not secure, not just in our identity and who and what we are from a personality sense, our mind, all these things, but even just our physical vessel, our body, how we feel about that, right? So then the other way and means of grounding within all of the energies of the zodiac is within the other end of the axis. So Aries energy is automatically grounded and rooted on the other end of the axis in Libra energy, in 7th house energy, in Venus energy, right? It's also a different element. It's air. Okay. So we move from fire to air. What does that mean when we're trying to ground? Well, it means that our Aries energy grounds best in our relationships with others, but also mental stimulation. Because air lives up in the head and it lives up in the mind as far as an element is concerned and the way that it operates. And Libra being ruled by Venus and being the other end of the axis with Aries and Mars being automatically projective, Libra is automatically receptive. So that means that the energy moves away from moving out and away and towards us, and it comes back towards us, right? So we're entering into the other end of the polarity. What does receptive air activities look like? Well, certain types of meditation are great for grounding this Aries energy that has moved into detriment. Meditations that require a lot of mental visualization, going on a journey in the mind is really, really good. That is like definitely Libra energy, because this is also where our self-love lives, is on the other end of the axis with Venus. Venus is that planet that is, you traditionally know this as divine masculine and divine feminine, right? But we're taking the gender stereotypes out of it. So looking at Venus as a different energy than Mars, this is the energy of how we receive. This is the energy of what fills our cup. So how do we love ourselves? How do we love the identity that we get on the other end of the axis, the truth of ourselves, the root of ourselves that lives within Aries? We find it on the other end of the axis. We find that energy on the other end of the axis within Venus. We don't find it within the first part of the axis within Aries and within Mars. This is, what fills our cup? And what fills our cup helps us see ourselves clearer, because also the other end of the axis in the 7th house is the house of mirrors. That's why it's the house of relationships, is because relationships are mirrors. Our relationships are mirrors to ourselves. We meet other people that they see us and they show us what they see. And sometimes other people, they can see us more clearly than we can see ourselves. So they hold that mirror up and we are able to then see ourselves more clearly. And Libra is really that clarity of sight. And the 7th house is that clarity of sight that we get from the mirror. So then when we see ourselves more clearly, we can understand ourselves more clearly, and then we uncover our identity more clearly. And then we go straight back to the other end of the axis, right? And then we get that self-love. And we're like, oh, this person really just like illuminated who and what I really am. And like, I didn't see that before. Like, I didn't see that before I met them. And yes, romantic energy exists in Venus and the 7th house and in Libra and that end of the axis, but it doesn't have to be. A relationship is with anyone. This is our friends. I mean, it's even still our family, even though that's another zodiac sign. It's ruled by Cancer, but it's just other people that are in our physical vicinity and they arrive in our reality. It can be our coworkers. It can be a random person that we meet just, out at a restaurant or in the bathroom, in the elevator. And, somebody gives you a compliment on your appearance. I really like what you're wearing. I really like your hair. I really like your glasses. Whatever it is, you're in an elevator. You don't even know this person, but there was just that moment of this mirror that got held up to you by someone else. And that filled your cup. And that's in the other end of the axis from Aries. So whenever we are feeling that energy of Aries in detriment, the energy of our identity in detriment, our physical body in detriment, we're not feeling good. We're not feeling secure. We don't know who we are. We don't know what we are. We don't like our body. We don't like the way we look. Whatever these insecurities are, we can go to the other end of the axis and we can ground ourselves within the other end of the axis. So this is why it's so important to understand the signs of the zodiac as an axis as a whole, rather than these just 12 separate signs that are all separate, not connected to each other. They're all different. And this is why astrology can feel so hard to learn. So rooting ourselves in the other end of the axis and understanding that the way that that end of the axis works takes us straight back to the other end of the axis and helps us understand what that end of the axis not only rules and represents to help us learn and know astrology, but also navigate life. Because that's what it's really about. We are down here in this human experience and it's rough. It's hard. I call being human being it's a video game on expert level hard mode, and you are not allowed to change the setting. So, when we're playing video games, I wasn't allowed to play video games growing up, so maybe this is not the best analogy for me in particular to use, but I'll use Mario Kart as the example because I do know that in the settings of Mario Kart, which is like the only video game I've really can play, there is a menu, and it's like, easy, moderate, hard, and like expert or whatever it says. And you can change it. And when you're playing and you're driving too fast and there's all like turtle shells coming at you and it's difficult and you're like, or like there's no guardrails and you just like fall off of Rainbow Road or whatever it is. And you're just like, oh no, I can't do this. I need to change the setting back. I need to go back to easy mode because I'm learning. We don't get to do that down here, unfortunately, even though we're still learning. So even though we're still learning, being human is a video game on expert level hard mode, and we do not get to change the setting. And what astrology really is, and these 12 signs of the zodiac, but learning them through axis, is how you can understand all of the energy that governs life on Earth, the human experience, how it works, how it operates, how it goes well, and how it doesn't go well, because there are challenges in everything, but there's also gifts in everything. Like, all energy is a tool and all energy is a gift, no matter how uncomfortable it makes us. This energy is all here to help us serve our purpose and find ourselves, go on our journey of self-discovery, learn our soul lessons, share our gifts with others, live out our purpose, and really to not just learn, but also grow. So the 12 signs of the zodiac and also learning it by axis helps us understand what energy we are living within, navigating the human experience, what it is, what it should be, what we want it to be, and how we can just better function and operate and be fulfilled down here in this human realm that, maybe doesn't feel as fulfilling to a lot of people. So we can use the system of astrology in order to become not just more self-aware of our own personal energy, because our own personal energy through our birth chart is contained within these 12 signs of the zodiac, but also all of the external energy that exists outside of us is also still defined and contained within all of the 12 signs of the zodiac as well. So going back to grounding within the other end of the axis, whenever we don't have the proper relationships in our life, or we're with people that don't see us very clearly, or they don't see us for who we are, or possibly we are changing our personality in order to try to make friends or get that romantic partnership or whatever it is. That automatically puts our Aries energy into detriment, into dissonance, because we're changing our identity. And again, this is all based in frequency. So then when we change our identity, we change our frequency, that frequency is what gets projected out and away from us. And by the laws of physics, every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Then our reality matches that frequency that we have projected out that does not match our real identity because we are masking in some way in order to be accepted, which is again found in the other end of the axis from Aries within that Libra energy. So this is also about balance, which, haha, Libra rules balance. Libra is the scales. Okay. So see how this is all a spectrum of frequency of definition and assignment, and understanding one end of the axis automatically helps you understand the other end of the axis. And then when we do Libra's separate episode, we will also see how this is rooted in Aries, and we're going to get sent into this Aries energy and how that defines Libra energy. You cannot have one without the other. That is how the 12 signs of the zodiac are constructed. And that is how you can learn them easier. And that's also how you can know yourself better. And knowing yourself better automatically helps you operate better in this world. If you're a manifestor working on manifesting and you're deeply into reality generation, this is how you are going to end up entering into what I call flow state, what everyone calls flow state, where your life just starts to work out. You don't have to work as hard because you are secure within your identity. You have this balance in your Aries energy, but you also have the balance in the Libra energy on the other end of the axis, whether it's for yourself or the people that you are surrounding yourself by, that then takes you back to yourself. And then you are just functioning in a more optimal way, and life just starts to really flow. Whether it's your career, your job, if your purpose is enveloped in that and tied to that, whatever you decide to do, but also this is also your hobbies, your creative projects, the things that you like to spend your energy on, because you're, again, Aries, this is your inner flame. This is your passion. This is your purpose. This is what you came here to do, right? And it's also what people get from you, what they perceive from you, your energy that you project out into the world. That is your Aries energy automatically from the jump. When all of these things are understood and navigated in a proper way, and also grounded and rooted within each other, within the axis, and you have that balance, well, life suddenly is not so hard. And the human experience as the video game on expert level hard mode, well, now you've become the master. You've become the master of your own experience. You've become the master of your own world. And that is really the goal. That's really the goal of this human experience. We all just want to feel fulfilled. We want to feel like we're living out our purpose. And when we don't have that, and it starts with the zodiac, it starts with just Aries being the first sign of the zodiac. When we don't have that, life is not good. And we can see that this is a collective thing. This is a collective experience. So that's another reason that astrology is really important, and it becoming mainstream is absolutely wonderful. But people need to understand this energy for what it truly is so that they can use it and harness it as a tool, because I will repeat it, I will say it again. All energy is a tool. All energy is a gift. We are meant to harness it and use it for our own growth and to enhance our experience, no matter how uncomfortable it makes us. And when we feel uncomfortable, when we exist in dissonance, all we want to do is seek resonance. And what is dissonance? I like to use music to explain that. Dissonance is a chord or like notes that they don't go together, and it's like they clash. And if you go put your hand on a piano and you don't really know how to play piano, and you're like, and you like just put, and it's like, oops, that sounded really, really bad. I'm sorry. I don't know how to play the piano. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have just like put my hand on that piano. My bad. That's what dissonance is. Versus resonance is, you learned how to play that piano and you know how to make a chord with like 3 notes or maybe even more than that. And all 3 notes, 4 notes, however many notes it is, they're harmonizing like people in a choir, and it's like the angels singing, and it sounds so beautiful and lovely and nice, and it makes you feel good. That's what resonance is. So all energy can go into dissonance, and that's the energy that makes us feel uncomfortable. That's the energy that makes us be like, I don't like this and I want to change this. Humans are constantly just seeking resonance. So when you understand astrology and you understand the 12 signs of the zodiac, and you understand how that's your personal energy as well as all of the energy of this reality that you are navigating, you can find also resonance within the dissonance, because the human experience, being a video game on expert level hard mode, when things are hard, there's kind of automatically dissonance in all of that whenever things get difficult. So the real work in the human experience is navigating an inherently dissonant world, an inherently dissonant experience, but you create your own resonance within that. So when you understand the energy from a mechanical perspective, a functional perspective, through polarity, through direction, through balance, through grounding, through understanding that this energy is all connected to itself, and you can wield it, you can manipulate it, you can change it. This is why free will is stressed so heavily in like every religious and spiritual text that exists, because perspective is a choice based on given and perceived information. If you want to view something as good, you could find other information and you can flip that perspective over and you can view it as bad. If you want to view something as bad, you can find other information, you can find something good about it, you can flip that perspective over. That exists within the 12 signs of the zodiac. So remember, always go back to duality. Nothing is good or bad. Everything just is. We are just living in a dissonant world seeking resonance, but also dissonance is not inherently bad because it's required for growth. But also we are just seeking resonance because as human beings, we like to feel comfortable. We like to feel good, and we can use the system of knowledge with astrology, and starting off just square one, day one, with the Aries Libra axis and the focus on understanding Aries first and what that represents and what that means, to then navigate this human experience different. I think that's about it, and about all that I have for you guys today when it comes to Aries. Also, if you like all of this with me, I do private sessions. I have private sessions. I also have digital products. So I have workbooks available on my website. So you guys can just go to my name, BrieRhiannon.com, and you can go check out anything if you want to work with me at a one-on-one level. If you want to learn at a one-on-one level with me, get in sessions with me, anything like that, we can definitely do that. But if you want to learn on your own and you don't need me, just using through the podcast, reading on your own, that's what my digital workbooks are for. Very teach a man how to fish. That is about all I've got for you guys today. So thank you so much. Also, if you want to connect with me on social media, I would absolutely love that. I mostly hang out on Facebook, but I am Brie Rhiannon on all platforms. I'm definitely the most active on Facebook and Threads because I am a writer through and through, but you can find me on literally every single platform. If you really want to dive deep, I quit TikTok a long time ago, but I am still Brie Rhiannon on TikTok, and I do have a vault of videos if you guys want to go on there for more educational content. If this is just not enough for you and I am not producing enough fast enough, that is totally okay. And my TikTok still exists and I am not taking it down. So absolutely all platforms. I'm very simple to find. Brie Rhiannon, BrieRhiannon. So whether it's .com or every social media platform, that is where you can find me. And also, just to plug it, I do have a Facebook group. So if you guys are looking and seeking community, which I think is really, really important right now, especially during this 20-year Pluto and Aquarius transit that we are experiencing. Aquarius rules community and organization building, and it's the energy of finding your tribe, finding like-minded people. My Facebook group is called Lunar Revolution, which is actually also the title of my first book that I am writing. So I will plug all of my things and my stuff and like and subscribe and all of those things. And I don't know how to be an influencer, so I'm sort of just pretending. I don't like the word influencer. I'm not influencing anybody. I'm just a human being. And also I do like teaching. So if you want to call me a teacher, you can call me a teacher. I agree with that, but I don't really agree with the fact that I'm an influencer. I don't think I influence. You influence yourself, you know? But yeah, that's about it. That's everything that I have. It definitely subscribe so that you can know when I release new episodes of my podcast that I'm doing here with the Brie Rhiannon tapes. And that's about it. And my cat left before I could hold her up and show you guys why she was named Noodle. She gets like limp like a wet noodle, so that's why I called her that. But she really wants to go outside and wants me to be done recording, so she's like, bye, I can hear that you're almost done, and got off my lap. Well, too bad, but she is cute, and like I said, very appropriate that she got on my lap for this particular episode because she is an Aries and she was born in the spring. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you if you choose to show up again in the future. Thank you if you choose to connect with me elsewhere. If we happen to meet one-on-one in a session, I'm super excited, and thank you in advance for that. And everybody have an amazing day, and thank you for listening.